I'm Kat. Thank you for being here today. I work for ISA. Thank you for joining us for our event. Before we get started, just some housekeeping. We will be using the Q&A to ask questions. So if you have any questions, there'll be a presentation and then a Q&A section. So please put your questions there and not in the chat. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to hand it over to Jen Murray, who is the Assistant Director of Outreach and Recruitment at Fulbright.
Thanks, Kat. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen, and as Kat mentioned, I'm the Assistant Director for Outreach and Recruitment at the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for making some time to spend with us today while we talk about the Fulbright Awards for the 2027-2028 academic year. I'm going to do a brief overview of the Fulbright program for those who may not be familiar, talk about some special aspects of it, qualifications, types of awards, some specific awards, the application cycle, some tips, and then next steps and question and answer. I think we should be able to wrap up in about a half an hour. The Fulbright Scholar Program was created in 1946 by Congress, and it's sponsored by the Department of State's Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs as its flagship exchange program. It's implemented by binational commissions and U.S. embassies abroad and supports teaching, research, a combination of those two things, or professional projects in over 130 different locations. These are merit-based awards selected through a multi-step review process that involves your peers, those binational commissions, the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board, and the Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs. This is a big year. We just had the July 4th celebrations, Freedom 250. It is also the 80th anniversary of the Fulbright program. So we're celebrating 80 years of academic exchange and binational impact. And you'll see we have one or two awards that reflect this year of milestones that we'll be talking about. So why should you apply for a Fulbright? Well, you must have some international research or teaching aspirations or perhaps collaborations that you'd like to build on or explore. Those things are definitely part of the Fulbright. You will advance your work, expanding your publishing network, enriching your teaching. We've done a little bit of preliminary research with academic analytics that it looks like publishing and citation rates go up a bit after a Fulbright experience abroad. So that's, I know, something that's important in your tenure file. You earn recognition. Fulbright is a prestigious award, and there is a dynamic international alumni community that one becomes a part of. Additionally, Fulbright is it's a peer-to-peer diplomacy program, and I'd like to say that that starts with things like this. I lead the outreach and recruitment team, which means our whole focus is on finding applicants, finding new audiences for these awards, and spending time demystifying things, answering questions, and connecting one-on-one with applicants. And you get that level of assistance throughout the cycle. Once you're in the country, there's host country staff, and we have a whole program management team here. And then that dynamic alumni community that we were talking about. If we have time later, we'll look at the Fulbright Scholar Directory to see how you can find alums. And also we'll mention the fact that these awards many of them offer dependent support, so you can bring family members with you. This is our current cohort of alumni ambassadors. They were selected through a competitive application. They've all done at least one Fulbright U.S. Scholar program, represent a range of different disciplines, and you may see them at academic conferences that you attend. We have some STEM people, we have a data scientist, an educator, biomedical person. I know this is international studies, but I know that's also an interdisciplinary field. Another network to be aware of, if you're not already, is the Fulbright Scholar Liaisons. If you are based on a campus in the United States, it's highly likely that you have a scholar liaison. And there's a directory at the bottom of that slide where you can look that up. It's sometimes in the international office, sometimes in a fellowship or academic dean's office. these are individuals who understand how the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program application works, and they also understand how leave and support works at your institution. So they're great to bridge that gap between what Fulbright is and how you may take time away from your institution, whether that's during a sabbatical or at another time. Okay, so qualifications. Really, the top bullet is the one qualification that is the baseline for these awards. U.S. citizenship is required at the time of application. The other qualifications, a PhD or terminal degree or other terminal degree is required for many, but not all of the awards. So there are ways to search for and understand awards that are open to those who may not have a terminal degree, but who have significant professional experience in the field and or teaching experience. If you want to go abroad and teach, you should have teaching in your background. And then if you've been either a Fulbright U.S. student or Fulbright U.S. scholar before, you are eligible to apply again, provided that 2 years have passed since the end date of your prior grant and the application deadline of September 15th, 2026. And finally, there are over 380 awards. However, you can only apply to one award in each competition cycle. So it's really great that you're tuning in now. It's July, you're thinking about this. If you don't have a specific award in mind, you have a little time to look through the catalog and understand which award might offer the best fit for you. The activities, as we mentioned, are research or a combination of that with teaching or teaching alone. A professional project enables you to do something that might be a little more community-based, that doesn't quite fit neatly into the teaching or research box. And then that fourth award activity type, seminars, is there are 8 of those, and those are 2-week immersive experiences for international education administrators. So those are really not faculty awards. Those are for the folks making all the international work on your campus happen. And all of these are U.S. Scholar Awards, but within that category, there are several postdoctoral awards. There are several Distinguished Scholar Awards, which is more for senior academics, later career academics. And then the IEA Awards are those 2-week seminars. So a few highlights for this current competition. Over 800 awards. So we said 380. That means that many awards offer more than one placement. So there may be up to 4 placements for a specific award. So you're competing with whomever else is applying for one of 4 spots. 68%, nearly a third, offer dependent support, and that's anyone you might claim as a dependent on your tax return. There are 43 of those Distinguished Scholar Awards. And what that means is they're generally looking for someone with 7 or 13 or more years of experience in the field. 45 countries offer the Flex, which enables you to, let's say, win a 6-month award and break that up into 2 or 3 segments where you go back and forth. That becomes a little bit easier sometimes. And then you see that large alumni population there as well. This is a quick screen grab of the award search function that we have. All of these little plus signs accordion down to give you options to search, and then you can also compare up to 3 awards. So this is really helpful if you know you want to be in a certain part of the world, or you know you only want to do teaching, or you want to search by your discipline. There's a lot of options there for you. And then once you get to an award, it has 4 tabs, which are circled there. And you'll hear us, if you come to any of our other events, reminding people to read all 4 of those tabs very carefully. And that second tab, award requirements, is where you're going to see, do I need a PhD, or is a master's okay as long as I have the teaching and other required experience? The award benefits, we'll get into whether or not it supports dependents and what kind of stipend you could expect to receive via that award. And the country area overview, as suggested, tells you a little bit more about the place. And I want to say here, while we're talking about country area and overview, We talk with a lot of Fulbright commissions, and I'm thinking of Morocco specifically, India as well, where they see a lot of heritage applicants, people who may have a family connection to that country, and they are welcome. They're also very curious to receive applications from U.S. citizens who may not have that heritage or cultural connection to their country, but will bring a different type of American background. So do not let a lack of experience in a place um, deter you from exploring a Fulbright in that place. A few of the new awards this year that I thought might be interesting for this group in particular. Australia has two awards that are celebrating the 80th anniversary of Fulbright and then 250 years of America. These awards are open to all disciplines. And so that includes international studies, international relations, and related fields that may be represented by the audience here. And you can read there. Um, these are looking for interesting projects that are sort of the moment and celebrating this exchange program. Kosovo has an award they launched this year on media resilience. So anyone who is looking at questions of media, policy, freedom of expression, that award could be interesting. And then there are several Fulbright Schumann Awards. The Distinguished Scholar Award is new this year. That means they're looking for someone, a more senior academic in those areas that are listed there and that are looking at US-EU relations in particular. So those are just a few of the new awards that I think could use some attention from applicants. So think about that. Um, I've also listed here a few countries. Some of the smaller countries are very interested in awards that are completely teaching or that combine teaching and research. So those are some places where they're really interested in having you as Americans coming and talking to their college and university students in the classroom, sharing your expertise, sharing your pedagogical approach, and learning about the youth of that country and how they're engaging with your particular discipline. And then we mentioned earlier that there are a lot of postdoctoral awards in the Fulbright catalog. If you are fewer than 5 years out from having received your PhD, you are eligible for one of these postdoctoral awards. And as an example, these countries all have these awards. In many cases, they have more than one. Israel, for example, has 8 different universities that are offering postdoctoral awards, and several of those universities are offering more than one spot. So this is a multiplier effect. And a piece of advice that when we talk to applicants, we include is to find the award for which it's sort of the narrowest eligibility criteria that you fit within. So if you are within that first 5 years out from having your PhD, and you take a look at these postdoc awards, which you can search on in our catalog, you're not going to be competing with people who've been in the field for 6 or more years. So you will put yourself in a smaller application pool. And I'll also take this moment to say that awards, many of these postdoc awards are what we call university partner awards. So there's a college or university, generally university in these countries, that have put themselves forward and say, we want a Fulbrighter here for the year or potentially even 2 years, and they're providing some of the funding. There may only be a few spots for these awards, but they sometimes don't get as many qualified applicants as they deserve. So it's really strategic if this fits for you to take a strong look at those awards, because if you apply for all disciplines to France, you're going to be in a huge applicant pool with people from all different disciplines, as well as career stages and institutional types. Whereas if you take a look at the postdoc award in France, you are very competitive if you apply to that award because it's outside of the metropolitan part of the country and is only for early career academics. I mentioned earlier the IEA awards. If there's anyone on the call today who is an administrator, um, and or if you think about people you know on campus, your SIO, the Senior International Officer, people at the provost level, study abroad directors and advisors, these awards are for those folks. They're 2-week seminars. They follow a very strict itinerary, and it's designed to give American administrators an understanding of the higher education community in the countries in which they are offered. You'll see that list of countries here. And they're in this order because this is the only subset of awards that has several deadlines that are not the September 2nd or September 15th deadline. Taiwan and the France-Senegal Award have that September deadline. Then there's two there, Israel and Japan, which have a November deadline. This is the first year that Israel is offering one of these awards, and they're really looking for folks at the senior leadership level. This is kind of director and above, people who have decision-making responsibility and who supervise staff is generally what's intended when we put senior leadership. There's a lot more in the eligibility for each of these awards, but this is a way to kind of make it so you can take a look on a screen and understand who they're looking for. The France-Senegal Award was previously open only to HBCUs. That is no longer the case. They do want to see a lot of applicants from that Carnegie classification, but others are also open to apply to that award. I myself did one of these to Korea before joining Fulbright when I was Dean of International Studies on a campus, and it was incredibly impactful. So bring that news back. If you yourself are not an administrator, think about encouraging someone to apply. So the components, what will you expect to see on a Fulbright application? A form where you select your country, you select the award. Your project statement is where you explain what you intend to do, how you want to do it, why this activity, whether it's research or teaching, a combination, should take place in the country or the part of the country or the university you have selected, and how much time you need, what are going to be the outcome and benefits and impacts of that activity. There are a couple of essays that get into your cultural preparation. And again, that doesn't have to be that you've spent an extended period of time in that country, but it should show that you've spent some time understanding the priorities of that country, what might be happening there in your field, and your overall preparation. If you've traveled or had other experiences that have prepared you for a Fulbright. You also talk a little bit about your career and why now is a good time. The CV is limited to 6 pages. The Distinguished Scholar Awards have a couple more pages. So you'll want to think about framing that with the most relevant information to the project you're proposing. And we have some other tips on our website for getting your CV to that length if you happen to have one that's significantly longer. 2 recommendations are required. One should be from your dean or director, someone in your at your home university who has responsibility for you in your role as a scholar there. And the second recommendation should be from a peer in your field who can speak to your scholarly work, its impact, your qualities as an instructor, who clearly knows you well and thinks that this is the right thing for you right now, and that you have the ability to conduct the project that you propose. Invitation letters are required for many of the awards. It's either required, recommended, or preferred. I would say if you can get one in any of those 3, do so. And we have a lot of tips on that on our website. If the award says not required, you don't need one. There are a few awards where the country will be part of placing you at a specific university. And then language proficiency, each award will indicate whether that's required. Most awards do not require language proficiency. You will need to speak to the feasibility of conducting your project if you don't have those language skills. And then depending on the activity type or the discipline that you choose, you may need a portfolio, a reference list, or syllabi in your application. And the application itself is dynamic. so that once you select your award and what you intend to do, it will auto-populate with what you are required to have as part of that application. The competition is open. Thank you for being at this webinar. This is your time to engage with us ahead of that September 15th deadline. We then have peer review in the fall. And by December, every applicant will be notified as to whether their application was recommended to move forward to the in-country and Fulbright Scholarship Board review processes. And then from December to June, those final selection processes happen and notifications go out. And then we begin preparing those who were selected for departure. So hopefully, many of you may have already started an application or are looking at awards. Read through the awards, attend events like this. Our website we will be doing this all summer. We have at least 2 office hours every week. Beginning your application is really smart. You will understand how it works, what kind of character limits and things like that might be in there. And then it will trigger questions that you can bring to office hours. You will want an invitation letter for many of these, so you want to connect with potential host universities very soon, and your recommenders as well. Those recommendation letters are also due by September 15th, and you want to give people enough time to write you a high quality recommendation and get it in on time. It's really hard when we hear about missed deadlines in that way. So, and if someone's asking you for a recommendation, give yourself a few extra days, get it in ahead of time. Okay, I just briefly wanted to mention a couple of other programs that Fulbright has that can bring funded international opportunities to your campus. The Scholar in Residence program. We're currently actually reading those applications, preparing for the review committees for those. Your campus can apply to host a foreign scholar for a semester or a year, either someone you have identified and would like to invite, or you can give a profile of what kind of scholar, what kind of disciplinary expertise from what part of the world you're looking for. That's a high quality program that's funded. The Outreach Lecturing Fund is sort of the lowest hanging fruit. That's a rolling deadline, and you apply to have someone come for 2 to 5 days to your campus to give lectures, meet with community members. It's a great way to augment a lecture series, International Education Week. Maybe you have multicultural programming and you want to find a scholar from a certain part of the world, or you have a new major you're developing and would like to bring someone in to talk about their subject matter expertise. I highly recommend looking into that. And then finally, the foreign language teaching assistants are young professionals who can come in with Fulbright and host language tables, assist with language classes, homework sessions. They often become friends with the language students. It's a great dynamic program to investigate for your campus. I know language studies are, you know, not as robust right now as they have been in the past. So that program can really help out. This is where you'll find information on webinars that we have hosted previously. There's a archive of recordings, and then you can also sign up for webinars we'll be having this summer. Those office hours that I mentioned are live Q&A sessions with us. So sign up for some of those. And then finally, if you don't get our newsletter and you want to scan that QR code, we have one monthly newsletter that goes out and provides information when we hear about new awards, deadline, upcoming events. We feature different commissions and countries in the newsletter as well. So that can be a valuable resource. It's just once a month. And I think that is kind of wraps it up for me. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and I would be happy to answer questions or hear from folks.